My name is John Flynn. I started here at the college in 1972. This September will be the beginning of my 50th year here. I came here to teach history. I was a full-time faculty member all the way up until 1982 when I became the dean of the college, and I did that for 23 years. The State University of New York is actually younger than Westchester Community College. When the college began, it began in a high school down in White Plains on Battle Hill. What happened after World War II, one of the greatest pieces of legislation that was ever created was the GI Bill. The government provided a whole panoply of services and supports for returning veterans. Once those bombs fell on Pearl Harbor and we geared up to a multi-million man army, how many people had to disrupt their lives to put a uniform on and go to war? And nobody knew that this was going to be a 2-year war, a 3-year war, a 10-year war when they went. So now it's 1945, the war is over, and Congress has passed this bill. And in that, there was going to be money for tuition for the education that got interrupted. There was money for veterans to buy homes, mortgages, things like this, and also living expenses. So suddenly, there is this tremendous demand for seats in college classrooms. So you have all the people who have just gotten to be old enough to be college students and all these people that are coming back from the war. And so what New York State did is it created 5 institutes in various places around the state. The one in White Plains was set up, and it's the one that they moved into the Battle Hill School. Over the years, it grew in size and it outgrew that facility and was looking for a new place to locate. At the same time, the Hartford family, which built this 400-acre estate, Buena Vista Farms, up here on a hill in Valhalla, both Mr. and Mrs. Hartford passed away. They had no children, and the estate passed to the Hartford Trust and was given over to Yale University. And Yale sent a group of students here, all male students, because Yale at the time was all men. They lived in the house. They had a dormitory arrangement in the attic of the mansion. They used the buildings that were around the campus for environmental and ecological studies. Yale built a cinder block building, very, very Spartan facility. It had a greenhouse attached to it. And for years we did use it because it was a building and the college needed all the space it had. They really didn't do that many improvements on the property. And I think they were just interested in moving their program, cutting their losses, because it was costing them much more than that over the decade that they were here to maintain this property. They approached Westchester County and they said to Westchester County executive at the time and the Board of Legislators that if they would pay for moving the program, which was $750,000, they could acquire the estate. So the Board of Legislatures actually, there was a certain amount of controversy because what about the upkeep of this place? What would they do with it once they got it? So meanwhile, here's Westchester Community College looking for a new home, and here's this piece of property that's available. And so they made the decision to accept Yale's offer and turn 219 of the 400 acres over to Westchester Community College. And of course, once the college moved here, it was a revenue-generating, self-sustaining operation, so the county didn't have any additional burden on its taxpayers to maintain the property because the college did it for them. It was a win-win for everybody, and we were always reaching out to whoever was in the community. From the first day the school was open to men and women. There was a time before 1970 when you had men's colleges and women's colleges. You had Manhattan and Fordham and Iona and Columbia and Yale and Harvard were all male. And then you had the College of New Rochelle, and you had Marymount Tarrytown, and you had Vassar, and you had Radcliffe, and they were all women. And so the concept was that women learn better when they study only with other women, and men, or whatever the concept was. It was not one that we embraced here at Westchester. It was the GI Bill that was bankrolling and financing a lot of the students. So in the early days, most of the students were returning veterans who were men, but there were women in the classes from the very beginning. And all these schools I just named are now co-ed, unless they're gone. It's always been open to everyone in the community. And there was never any bar for any ethnicity or religious, any one of the other protected class kind of labels and nomenclatures. Over the years, I know that the college has made outreach efforts to bring in people that are underrepresented in the student body. And again, you can get the current numbers, but for many, many years, there were more women students than men students, for example. And we are one of the largest Hispanic serving institutions. We have that federal designation. We actually have a leadership role, I think, in the county in welcoming people from different backgrounds. People used to look around this campus and say, well, when are you going to be a four-year school? And I would say never. If you had a Corvette and a station wagon in your driveway, and someone looked at the Corvette and said, when is it going to be a station wagon? You would say, I hope never. I mean, they're two different purposes. I use them for different things. We're never going to be a four-year school. We want to be flexible. We want to be able to start programs and stop programs if we have to. We want to be able to be responsive to the community. I see us continuing to do that. I see us as an important cog. And what may happen over the next 50 years is people will come to realize that while high school's not enough, everybody doesn't need a bachelor's degree. So what we have here is a fantastic faculty, and the faculty who are here tend to be here. This is my 50th year. That we don't go away, all right? We stick to it. But when we do leave, there are new people coming in who are very strong. And so if a student is smart enough to come to Westchester Community College, for 1/10 of what he'd have to pay or she'd have to pay at some schools, they can get an excellent two-year education, smaller classes, excellent faculty, build up their self-confidence and their skills. We want to be here when the student is ready to learn. We've got all of these great facilities and great faculty, and we then take the student who works hard, and then they present themselves to these four-year schools, and they're very welcomed. So, I mean, that's really our mission in transfer. And then we have these other programs where you get people ready to go right into the hospital and be a nurse, and we have these tremendous reputation of having an excellent nursing program. Maybe then they later on go to get a bachelor's degree somewhere else. And I see us doing that and doing it well in the future.